Hello, and welcome to the Leap to Success podcast. Leap to Success is the conduit by which we share women's stories of courage, bravery, success, and diversity. Each week, we interview women entrepreneurs and leaders that have taken the leap in their lives and inspire our global listeners to be more, have more, show up more, and live a life filled with joy and happiness through believing in you. So today, my guest is Rebecca Maines of Artea Tax Group, and I'm so excited to talk to Rebecca today. Rebecca and I were part of a 12-week sprint in the end of 2024, so I got to see her work ethic and her drive and just how she interacts with other people, and I'm super excited to interview her today. So let's dive in, and Rebecca, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you end up where you are, and what do you do for your clients?
Sure. So I'm an enrolled agent and a certified tax coach. Those are the nifty letters after my name there.
Nice.
I honestly fell into this industry by a complete accident, and becoming a business owner, I think, was always in the cards for me, but I never knew what that looked like. I'm 24 years old. I'll be 25 this
Wow.
May.
Yay.
Thank you.
Love it. I love it.
And I graduated high school in 2018. I got finished my associate's degree in 2019, and not knowing what I wanted to do or major in, I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on getting a 4-year degree if I didn't really know.
Mm-hmm.
But I did know I wanted to go into financial services somehow, so I started working at a local bank. I was there for 3 years. Again, I fell into working at an accounting firm in 2021, and I got all my on-the-job experience there.
Okay.
I received my enrolled agent license, and um, let's see, in 2022, I got my agent's license, and it's been a really rewarding industry to be in, especially because there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to handle their financials as small business owners, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. That's what I'm here for. And I just genuinely enjoy helping clients and do their bookkeeping, keep their taxes in line, and keep them compliant with federal and state guidelines. It sounds weird. I know it sounds super weird. They're like, who
I
thinks
love it.
compliance is fun?
I
But
love it. Thank goodness
for
there
me,
are
it's
people that think compliance is fun, right? For the rest of us that don't think it's fun. Thank goodness that
Right.
you're out
Yeah.
there.
It's
Yeah.
so funny. I mean, when I was working at the bank, I was a lender. So, people would come in and ask for help, say, hey, I need, $3,000. I have to hire a lawyer, or whatever their situation was. And I
Yeah.
had to get creative because sometimes they wouldn't qualify for certain types of loans. And we'd have to really think about what we could do to get them that money because they really needed it for their situation. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a puzzle, I suppose. And my
Nice.
type A personality loves doing puzzles. So
Nice. Nice. I love
um
it.
so that's what I enjoy about my line of work. Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different goal. So
Yeah, I love it. So, for our listeners that maybe don't know, can you explain to us what an enrolled agent is and why that's an important designation for people to look for?
sure. So an enrolled agent is very similar to a CPA. I know CPA is more widely known. But if you think about it in terms of CPAs are licensed by the state that they reside in or the state that they are working in. So certified public accountant, they've got to have their bachelor's degree in accounting, and they have to have so many hours and all that good stuff. An enrolled agent is more of, I would say, application, like we work more with um, the practical application of like the tax laws and how it might apply to you and how we can really make sure we're staying compliant. Not that CPAs don't, because they do, of course, but based on how I've built my firm and my clientele, I find that the EA is more useful for them. There
Okay.
are CPAs in the world that have never seen a tax return except their own. which
Right.
is okay because CPAs are a little more versatile in what jobs they can hold. So your CFOs, your controllers, stuff
Right.
like that in those bigger um, corporate places, which is great. But for me, an enrolled agent made more sense because I didn't really want to go back to school at the time. And
Yeah.
again, an enrolled agent is a little more practical in terms of approach.
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
that also gives me the ability. So, say, Mary, you call me, you say, I got this tax bill. I don't know what the heck to do with it. It makes no sense. Can you help me? Can also represent you in an audit with the IRS,
Okay.
excuse me, and be that go-between. So there's a very fine line between a lawyer and an accountant, and it's sometimes we're dipping in the opposite pool, but we have to be
Yeah.
really careful of that. And but yeah, so if you get an audit letter, you can call me and say, hey, I need help with this. I don't know why I'm getting audited. Then we can go from there. So,
Nice. Nice. I love
oh,
that. It's good to know that there's people like that out there because sometimes you see that and you go into panic mode and then you're like, I gotta
right.
hire a lawyer, I gotta hire this person, that person, right? And knowing that there's somebody as an enrolled agent that can act on your
Mhm.
behalf and help you get through the process, that's such a relief.
Absolutely. And the thing with enrolled agents too is we are granted our license by the federal government. So I'm currently in Washington State. I can technically practice um, tax blah, 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 blah. That was a little bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Tax preparation in any state. Um,
Okay.
but I personally don't work with New York or California because of the stringent tax laws.
Okay.
So I apologize, listeners, if you are in those states, but I do have contacts in those states. If you need some help, I can get you connected with somebody.
Okay, that's great to know too, because if you are looking for a CPA, then to know that they are licensed by state versus an enrolled agent can work with anybody, by their preference, but they're licensed through the federal government, so it's at a higher
Mhm.
level and they can work with more people.
Right.
So I love that. Um, so how would you say if you were going to talk about a leap that you've made that's been a leap to success, right? The name of the podcast.
Sure.
So you're young, so you've taken some leaps in your career, right?
Yeah.
But how would you share a story about taking a leap and leaping towards success?
Well, I've got a couple actually. The first one, as you said, is starting my business to begin with, because when I
Yeah.
started, I was 22 years old. I
Wow.
was very new. I was very scared, of course, because I'm 22 years old. My biggest concern at that point was, are people even going to take me seriously?
Yeah.
And for those that have been listening for a while, they know Colleen. I met Colleen in Mexico that year, 2022, I believe. And she was like, girl, why don't you start your own? And I was like, no way, like that can't happen. And a couple of things happened in my life that kind of pushed me into it that I were honestly out of my control. I ended up losing my job at the firm I was at,
Okay.
and I was stuck. I had no way of generating income. I was scared, and I called my parents. I was like, what do I do? What can I do? I don't know. And my dad says, well, how much would it cost you to get started? And I was like, I don't know. My dad's a business owner. He's a contractor.
Nice.
And he's like, well, why don't you come over and let's look at the numbers and see if I can help you start a business.
Nice. I
And I
love
was like,
it.
wow. So that's how I started my business. Now, a little recently, though, and I talked about this in our 12-week year,
Yeah.
I had to work a second job for a little over 2 years just to keep the income steady because I was still building.
Yeah.
And what I ended up doing, let's see, I want to say October, maybe it was in September now, I can't remember. And I quit my second job, and because it was really mentally taxing working 7 days a week,
Hmm.
and I couldn't devote the attention I needed to my clients, and that was just very unfair to them. And they're calling me, why isn't this getting done? And I said, I'm so sorry, I've been out of the office. And it just felt run of the mill, very,
Yeah.
excuses. And I didn't, my clients deserve better than that.
Yeah.
So I quit that job and well, here we are.
And here we are. I love it. I love it, Rebecca. So you've taken so many leaps, right? And starting a business
hmm
is a big leap. It's a big,
hmm
scary leap, right? And it's a
Yeah,
lot of hard work. And don't let anybody tell you, oh, you're going to go make $1 million in the first 6 weeks, because it just doesn't happen,
it
right?
doesn't happen.
There's a lot of people out there pushing that dream. And, more power to you if you can find a way to make that happen. But there is a lot of
Sure.
work involved. And there's a lot of, taking little leaps every day. It's like, okay, now I'm going to be able to market myself here. Now I'm going to go be on this podcast.
hmm
Now I'm going to put myself
Yep.
out there by doing this sponsorship, right? Or whatever it is.
Right.
Or raising my prices, right? We have all of these things that we have to do as business owners that take those little leaps that add up to success.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
success doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't, you don't leap to success and like, oh, I'm here, I landed, I'm good, right? So it's
Right.
that constant striving. Um, so what are some of the problems that your clients come to you with, or some of the issues that they're dealing with, that you are able to really shine and help them have a better understanding of their finances, and or, deal with issues that come up like being audited?
Yeah. So there's a few different things. I offer a good myriad of services. So I have some people coming to me and they say, I don't know how to do my bookkeeping. I need help with my bookkeeping. And so we get them going and I just handle their bookkeeping on a month-to-month basis and, their state tax filings and that sort of thing. Of course, I do have clients who come to me once a year and I just do their tax returns, and that's also totally fine. I actually had a new client last year. They had moved here from out of state and they said, hey, we got a surprise inheritance house
Oh,
across the country. And I was like, okay, all right, we can make this work. It's going to be
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And they were like, just as much of a surprise to us. And so that was fun just to kind of work through it because they were such sweet people and you know, they were very communicative and about what things were and what things weren't. And of course, without violating any privacy
right,
laws along that. We got it all buttoned up and taken care of, and they've signed again this year with me, so I'm excited to work with them
great.
again. I have had some people come to me with Department of Revenue, tax warrants, which is what the state in Washington calls it, where their sales tax is delinquent, and they're like, I didn't even know, I thought it was paid, and so we have
Oh,
to work with the revenue officers and say, hey, like, let's do this or that. And the state of Washington's a little easier to work with than the feds, I will say.
yeah.
Now, I have had a couple of clients come to me and they've got years of unfiled tax returns, and that also happens sometimes. Both the two people I'm thinking of, they were both under the impression that they were filed and
Oh,
they weren't. So now we're working our way backwards and it's this whole thing. And, some of these projects take 2 to 3 years because
yeah.
we're waiting on the feds and we're waiting on the state and we're waiting on all these things. But I'm happy to say that we are coming up on the finish line for both of those clients very soon.
Good, good.
So it's definitely helpful, but
Yeah,
that's just what I've been doing for the past 6 months, and that's my general day to day. However, I'm of course looking for new clients, and I'm
yeah.
actively looking to help anybody that needs it and trying to stay accessible as opposed to corporate firms as well.
Right, right. So, who would be an ideal client for you? Do you work primarily with business owners or just individuals, or you mentioned that you can work with anybody across the states, preferably not New York or California, again.
Right.
Who is an ideal client for you?
Um, you know, Pretty much anybody. And I know that that's not the standard answer that anybody wants to hear, but if we're talking, I can handle any any individual person who has a W-2 job. I can help you if you're worried about that. If we're talking small business, I primarily work with construction workers, so or construction businesses. So I've
Hmm.
got a few excavators, I've got a few, drywallers, concrete, general contractors, even, stuff like
Nice.
that. I
Hmm.
I I learned that's where I learned all my accounting experience is in the construction field. And my dad and my stepdad are both contractors, so I grew up on
Good.
the job
In
sites
that
too.
world. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not new to me. But I also do service based, so coaches and your Etsy sellers and stuff like that, photographers, and oh, there was one more, and my brain totally just lost it. So retail essentially is what that would look like.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great. And when do people know? How do you help people know when it's the right time for them to get some help? What are some of the words that they're saying that we could listen for to make a recommendation, or ourselves? When do we know, okay, I need some outside help with this?
Right. I can't believe I had to pay so much in taxes. It's crazy. I've never paid that much. And I will say this, as an accountant, we walk a very fine line between, hey, like you have an obligation to pay your taxes, and then there's the other side of that coin where people are like, well, I don't want to pay Uncle Sam. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Election year, all of that
Yes.
we just went through as a country.
Mhm.
I do my best to keep it very separate. If people voted for the new president, if they didn't, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You still have an obligation as a
The
citizen to pay
taxes are the taxes.
taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Ugh," like I'm sorry, So, or if people are like complaining or very frustrated with their current person, oh, I never get an email, they never call me back.
Yeah.
I find that being a solo person in my firm, I mean, aside from my, but they get that one-on-one time. They can sit down with me and ask me questions and not have them feeling like I'm rushing them out the door, which,
Nice.
I do my best to um break the terms down into like layman's terms, because it's not easy to understand. I will say
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah, the tax code book is however many inches thick, right? So it's not something you
Yeah.
sit down and want to read after dinner or something, right? So, um,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, going back to the, paying taxes, I switched my mindset many, many years ago, decades ago, about paying taxes because, my kids went to public schools. We went to the library all the time. We love our fire departments and, roads that we can drive on without, without too many potholes. And, you know,
Right.
those taxes all go to pay for those things. So if nobody's paying
Right.
their taxes, then we don't have the money to do those kind of things, right? So in your local community, those taxes go to help support those services. So
Right.
our country needs those, right? So we
Hmm.
have to pay them our fair share. We don't be paying more than we need to be paying, right? And that's where
Right.
having somebody on your side to help you make sure you're making the right decisions, and not paying too much, but still paying, what you need to pay on the revenue that you make, right? And the other
Right.
switch I made is the more taxes I have to pay means I made more money this year, right? So it's a good thing in some respects, right? The more money I
Right.
make, the more taxes, the higher my tax bill could be. Again, with somebody's help, you can mitigate some of those higher taxes. But
Oh
if they're
yeah.
going up, that means you're making more revenue generally,
Right. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I find that people who, maybe cross that six-figure mark, even in gross revenue before we're talking about expenses, that's when they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm making six figures. What do I do? And
Yeah,
uh, so, there's so many strategies out there and so many different things that you can do depending on your situation to call income shift, which isn't
yeah,
illegal. We're just moving how the income is reported and having you pay taxes on it as you go. And
nice.
there's a lot of different things. And I am having graduated high school in 2018, so not very long ago.
Yeah,
I am appalled at how little they teach that in schools these days.
yes,
At an accounting firm I worked for when I very first started, we set up time with the local schools to go into their home economics class and teach them like, hey, this is how you set up for retirement.
yeah,
Are you working at a coffee stand? Are you working at the mall? Shove like $300 in this retirement account a month, And then, by the time you turn 60, you'll have millions of dollars. So,
Yes. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I do enjoy doing the outreach of it as well because the younger generation, the education is not what it used to be.
Right, right. Yes, I know. I have two daughters in their mid 20s. And so, yes, they call me and ask me, if they get a new job, it's like, what do I declare on my W-2, right? Am I a zero or one or whatever? All those things make a
Right.
difference, right? And if nobody
Yeah.
ever sits down and explains what that is, like, well, this means they're going to take less out of your tax, so you might get more back later. But do you want to keep that money or do you want the government to hold that for you and you get a tax refund, right? So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
there's more high yield savings accounts you can put that money in for
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely. Make some money on your own money.
exactly, exactly.
Definitely.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So, what calls you forward to keep growing your business and what really inspires you to keep growing?
My genuine need to help people because
Nice.
I'm very much a numbers person. I'm like I mentioned earlier, very type A. The puzzle aspect keeps my ADHD brain engaged in the work, and the
Nice.
fact that every person I speak to has a different situation. Every client that I have has something different, from real estate to construction to franchising to a restaurant. We've got so many different people and so many different things going on in their personal lives. This client just got married. You can't see my hand. This
Yeah.
client just got married, this client just had a baby, and this client just has back taxes and needs to get her returns filed. And
Mhm.
you just everybody's different, every approach is different, and my genuine um oh, I don't even know what the word is. I just want to help. I'm an
Yeah.
extrovert by nature. I enjoy talking to people and saying, "Hey, can I help you?" Kind of like a fixer, but
Yeah.
not necessarily a personal fixer, but hey, let me at least make sure we're good with the feds at least.
Yeah, let's make sure your taxes are in order. That's great. That's great. And as a business coach, I'm always telling my clients who are business owners, you have to know the numbers in your business. And
Hmm. You
whether,
have to.
if that's a matter of a spreadsheet that you're managing your numbers on, or you've got QuickBooks or Wave or any of those other softwares that are out there, you have to know the numbers. And some people don't want to look at the numbers, and so that's why
Hmm.
having somebody like you who can help them with the bookkeeping side and then also help them understand what the numbers are and what they
Hmm.
mean and what how they can impact things going forward. I say this all the time: better data equals better decisions. And if you don't have the
Hmm.
data, you don't know what your numbers are in your business, it's really hard for you to make good decisions about what to do going forward. So I really
Exactly.
love that you help with that. So how do you help business owners in particular to know their numbers and understand their numbers?
Well, I mean, this is a great example. I went and sat down with one of my clients the other day. We've known each other for so long before I even started this. So we do dinners, and so I went up to her house, all that good stuff. It was a great time, and we sat down, we looked at it, and I asked her. I said, What are your goals? Like, I know you're wanting to launch this program this year, and I know you're worried about competition in the area,
Hmm.
because you've talked to me about that. So, what are your goals? Do you need to take time off? Do you need to hire somebody? Do you have an income goal? What does that look like? And so,
Hmm.
we sat down. She's like, "Oh, I want to hire another person. I want to take an extra day off a week so that I can spend time with my husband and my family.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I'm still making that money." And I said, "Okay, great. So let's look at your past 2 years, this quarter, first quarter of the year, and see if we can afford to hire somebody, at least, for the last
Yeah.
3 years, would you have been able to?" Because the numbers don't lie. They're never going
Right.
to change. If you're consistently making, 60,000 in the first quarter, this year, sure, you might go up to 70,000. You might, but we
Right.
know for sure you've made at least 60 for the last 3 years because trends never lie either. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, graphing, oh, graphs, oh, I hate this. I get that. It's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm here to read it, explain it to you,
Yay.
and say you can afford it. You can afford to
Yeah.
hire a person 20 hours a week. It's only going to cut into your profit, you know,
Yeah.
5%, you know?
Right. Right.
So then she was like, well, how would you do it? And so we wrote it all out and, we had a really good conversation about it. And I said, you're now taking Mondays off. Don't work.
Great.
Don't do anything. Leave your laptop in your home office. Take your dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Your parents. If you need to work, do it from your laptop on your couch at your house. Do not go into your office, like your
Yeah.
physical office. She was like, okay, I think I can do that. And,
Love it.
we did projections because she's adding a new program. So we priced it out. We figured out how much it's going to cost her to run it,
Hmm.
how much she should charge so she has good margins and is making money, and then comparing that to her competitors. This
Nice.
is all what we call fractional CFO work.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, I'm just giving you the numbers. I'm not telling you what to do. You tell me your goals, and I tell you whether you can afford to do the things you want. You
Yes.
can or you can't. And
I love
of
that.
course, I do tell all my clients I make zero guarantees.
Mhm.
I am not a CPA. I am not allowed to personally guarantee your financials, but I
Right.
can say based on trends, it looks like you'll be okay, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Right. I mean, we could have another COVID and who knows what the world would do, right? So
Oh
no
my gosh,
guarantee with
yeah.
anything, but
Right.
having that confidence to have somebody explain the numbers to you and she may have thought, well, I think I can do this, but I'm not quite sure, right? And not knowing
Hmm.
how to look at the numbers and really say, okay, based on the numbers, yes, based on this trend, based on what you've done in the last couple of years, here's what the numbers look like and here's what it might cost. And running through all of those numbers is so powerful. And that's where
Hmm.
having, even somebody to do that with on a regular basis, even quarterly, to look at
Yeah.
them. Or if I'm sure when you do your bookkeeping for your clients that you're giving them those kind of reports rather than, here's your profit and loss statement. Good luck, right? So giving it a little
Right.
bit
Yeah.
more feedback on here's your profit and loss. I noticed this is up or your expenses are up this month. I know people who pay for bookkeepers and get those reports monthly, but they never look at them. They never
Mhm.
look to analyze and see what's happening. Is my revenue up or is it's like I got money in the bank account, I'm good. Well, there's more to your business
Right.
than that, right? So,
Right. Well, and too, some clients prefer it that way. If
yeah,
they don't want to look at it until the end of the year, I'm not going to force them. Here's your
right, right.
reports. If you have questions, please reach out. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't offer fractional
Oh,
we
I started to lose you. Hang on.
college. So I do offer it, but at a little bit of a higher price point just to account for my time. But
Right.
if that's something that you need, let's talk about it. Let's get it into your package, and I'm here for you. Call me. We'll have a meeting every month. We'll talk about what's going on.
Good, good. That's so amazing. So, Rebecca, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. So, I'm so excited to share your skills with the world because there are many of us out here who don't want to look at our numbers, who don't want to do the calculations, who don't want to do that part of it. And I'm
Sure.
so glad that you're out there and you're available to help people, especially if they're
Oh yeah.
dealing with an issue with the IRS or something. It really is nice to know that there's somebody who can be on your side and help you
Hmm.
get that straightened out, right? Because that's such a heavy energy that you're carrying around. And
Absolutely.
so just having you on their side will be such a refreshing way to deal with that problem. So, how
Yeah.
is the best way? We'll put in the show notes. This will be, streamed on all of the platforms where you listen to your favorite podcasts. And we'll put in the show notes all of Rebecca's contact information. But is there a way for people to start working with you or just reach out and have a consultation call with you? What's the best way for them to find you?
You can email me at info@Artea Tax Group. right up here on my banner.
Okay.
If you're watching this on Facebook or something like that. But best way to guarantee time with me, because we are walking straight into tax season, I
Yeah.
cannot guarantee phones will be answered. Again, I'm a one-woman show. I have to spend time working on all of my clients.
Right.
As of now, the best way is to use my initial consultation link, which I've sent to Mary, so that should get there on the show
Yes.
notes for you. So that would be the best because that is my active calendar at all times of day. It'll let you know what's available based on what's already on my calendar, so you won't have to worry about it.
Perfect.
Um, and if you do schedule with me, and I'm offering a freebie too. I don't know if you were going to say that next, Mary.
No, but go ahead and tell us about it.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm offering a free tax discovery session. So that is a separate link. That is a $300 value if you book it with me by the last day of the month, January 31st.
Okay.
So I have that link currently set as free. If you have any questions, feel free to email and me or my admin will get back with you on that.
Fantastic. That's fantastic because I know a lot of people do have tax questions, especially business owners, right? With the, do I need to do a 1099? How do I get W-9s? All of that kind of stuff that has to happen, right? And your corporate
Right,
taxes fall in the middle of January and all kinds of things that happen for business owners in January. So
right.
please take advantage of that amazing offer that Rebecca's giving us to our listeners today. And so we'll get this out as soon as we can, the podcast out, so that people have time to get that scheduled with you. All right, so that wraps up our time today. So again, thank you so much to Rebecca Maines with Artea Tax Group. She is an enrolled agent and a certified tax, what's the C?
Coach.
Coach. Yes. So she can help you with your books for your business, for your personal life. If you've got any kind of tax questions at all, please reach out to Rebecca and let her help guide you through your issues so that she can help relieve that stress and move through 2025 with ease.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. And again, we'll put all of Rebecca's contact information in the show notes. So reach out to her and connect as soon as possible. Thanks so much, Rebecca.
Thank you.